In the wake of the recent abduction of tens of girls from a secondary school in Zamfara State in Nigeria's northwest, President Muhammadu Buhari went public, giving marching orders to the military to secure the release of the hostages, while also promising Nigerians that the kidnap incident will be the very last of its kind under his government. A few days later, terrorists struck again in nearby Kaduna State, and in a move that suggested increasing daredevilry, abducted another set of students from a school located very close to the National Defense Academy. This development seemed to capture exactly what security of lives and property have become in present-day Nigeria. Is President Buhari underrating the sheer enormity of the security crisis engulfing the nation? What exactly is going wrong with the military's approach to rules of engagement with the terrorists? Is there too much politics in how the government of the day wants to engage them? Is the Buhari administration right to rule out deployment of mercenaries? Joining us now to have a conversation is retired Col Hassan Stan-Labo, who was head, Training Division, Army Peacekeeping Center, and Brigade Chief of Staff, recipient of the Rockefeller Foundation Award, member Nigerian Institute of Management, and member American Society of Industrial Security. Welcome to the program, sir. Good morning.
Colonel, good morning. Hello, good morning, Col Stan-Labo.
Good morning, Ruben.
Well, Tundu already asked you the question. A few weeks ago, let me put it like that, many Nigerians thought that if General Buhari changed the service chiefs, the situation with the security in Nigeria will improve. And the new service chiefs, led by General Irabo, they tried, more or less, that team tried, to hit the ground running with General Irabo and his team making the right noises. But as we have seen, not much has changed. Kidnapping continues unabated. The terrorists remain audacious. And then some Nigerians then went back to the point that we need private military contractors. If the security agencies in Nigeria cannot solve the problem, why don't you just bring in the private military contractors? What are your thoughts in terms of what the new service chiefs have been able to do or not do, and whether or not the time has come to just hand over this assignment of security to private military contractors?
Well, thank you, Ruben. And I must say this, well, it's a good development that we have a new team at the helm of affairs as far as the military leadership is concerned. And I must say, to an extent, we are gradually beginning to see some level of out-of-the-box thinking, some level of changes, so to speak, some excitement, you know, in the way things are being carried out. We need to give them some time before we're able to begin to assess how far they are progressing. But the fact remains that all I have said now only has to do with what we are seeing in the Northeast. As far as what I call Nigeria mainland, that is the area or the rest of Nigeria, where we have banditry and all the rest ongoing, I must confess that we are getting overwhelmed. I must confess that we are getting overwhelmed. I used to be of the opinion that, look, we don't need. I used to be of the opinion that, look, we don't need external assistance or what have you. But I think I must convincingly now tell myself that there is a need for some level of external assistance to be brought in, to bear. I am convinced that we are overwhelmed with the situation on ground, as embarrassing as it is, because I know what I think the Nigerian Armed Forces can do. Unfortunately, for one reason or the other, we are not measuring up to expectations. So I think there is a need for us to seek some external assistance. Should we be talking with the UN? Should we be talking with the AU? Should we be talking with ECOWAS? Should we be talking with military companies out there? whatever it is, we've got to seek some form of external assistance to see how we bring this to bear on the situation on ground.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with retired Col Hassan Stan-Labo. Sorry, sir, for that break in transmission. We had to sort out the audio problems we were having. I trust that you can hear me clearly now.
Quite clear, quite clear.
Great. I was asking why children seem to be a prime target. I mean, it's not new. The murder and abduction of Nigerian school children begun in 2013. But this recent spate of attacks targeting boarding schools and now a primary school is worrying. Why is this the preferred tactic now?
Oh, Tundu, it's simple. The larger the harvest, the better. Okay? These are bandits who are in business. All right? And of course, if they are able to lay hands on a larger number of citizens, fine. And of course, too, what do I call it now? The level of premium placed on those who have been abducted matters. Okay? If you are abducting 1 or 2 ministers, oh, that's great. If you can't get that, you are getting 200, 100 school children, fantastic. That now begins to give you a basis on which you are able to, set your ransom demands, and things like that. And then if I may chip in, or if I may add this, where you begin to bring in what is today beginning to constitute what I call the popular impression in the public, that certain individuals, probably in government or out of government, are also complicit of what's happening. And people are fast making some money out of it, which of course wouldn't be out of place anyway. We know what the stuff some of us are made of. So don't be surprised that the emphasis is on children. Go to schools. They are all available there. More so, too, when you consider the fact that most of our schools are laid out there in rural areas, far stretched out in ungoverned spaces, and they are not fenced. All the necessary security measures that should be in place are never there. So it's just so easy for them to walk into the schools, pick up these kids, walk out.
Of expediency, there's no ideological motive behind this. It's not about trying to discourage Western education, for example. We'll take a short break. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with retired Col Hassan Stan-Labo. Sorry, sir. Glad to have you back. Sorry about that interruption there. I was asking you, just to be clear, that there's no ideological component to the thinking here, that it's just pure expediency.
Well, there could be an eclectic mix of it all, but I think what is most glaring to me as an analyst is the fact that the bandits badly need additional funding to enable them strengthen on their capacity on ground, to enable them acquire weapons and meet other operational needs. And the best way of doing this, like it is to go through the easiest way, which of course is rounding up kids in most of the schools. And of course, since in most cases our governments are always very ill prepared, nobody has taken time off to put any security measures around these schools. So it's as easy as anything picking them up, even without weapons. And of course, you place your ransom. And like it is in Nigeria with government officials, the money is there, you just spend it. And so the money is released. And as time goes on, of course, like I said the other time, it is gradually becoming a public opinion now that certain individuals in government are becoming, or are rather complicit about what's all happening. So when these releases are made, of course, some individuals could be benefiting out of it. Simple.
Let's talk about that complicity. Let's explore that level of complicity. How complicit are these certain people being talked about are complicit? Two, I want to ask you, in reaction to Babagana Mungunu's statement on the BBC that he's denying now that some monies were released for weapons, but they've not seen the weapons yet. What's happening as regards that? And thirdly, what kind of help should we be getting? Should we be talking to the Russians, the Israelis? Should we do something like a commando style? Or should we pay those of the Strike Force 72 that we paid that cleared out Bama for us? What level of engagement should we be having now? Those three insights, please.
Yeah, first and foremost, concerning the issue of whether missing money is meant for weapons or whatever, I want to believe the NSA has said he's been quoted out of context, and I want to stay with him and leave it at that, even though to some of us it was quite, what he said was very clear. But if probably he meant it the other way around, fine. We should give him the benefit of the doubt. As to who we should be contacting, you have already reeled out a good number of the sources or the institutions or organizations or bodies or countries that we should be talking with, all right? I expect that by now, having fought Boko Haram for 10 years, by now, we ought to have evolved or developed very strong ties with countries like Israel, who are very sound when it comes to city issues, counterterrorism, and so on. All right? By now, we should have developed and evolved very strong ties with a good number of institutions around us, where by now we should have some of our men even undergoing training. If by now Israel is not training some of our men and churning them back to us nearly every 4 or 6 months, then I'm afraid. Then it means what we see at the federal level is trickling down even to institutions like the military down.
What do you mean?
Because it's unfortunate, some of us,
What do you mean?
the lackadaisical attitude towards the entire banditry situation in the country. I said the lackadaisical attitude which I see emanating from leadership at the federal level. Response is too slow. Within the last 3 weeks or 1 month, I would say, Mr. President has actually started speaking to us like the president we expect to speak to us under a situation as this. Fine, though belated, but what can we do? Because the posture I see of the president now is the posture I expect to have seen 3 years back. If 3 years back, Mr. President, at every point, at every turn, was emphasizing that shoot every individual carrying an AK-47, arrest and immediately prosecute. We shall read his body language adequately. We shall read his lips adequately. And of course, people would respond. But all along, what we have seen, unfortunately to me, gives out the wrong signal to we as ordinary citizens. And what are the wrong signals? That sentiments, we are beginning to becloud the interpretation of leadership with what is actually the true situation on ground. That there is a cutoff between the realities on ground and the realities or semi-realities which our leaders hold as the proper. It's unfortunate.
Well, Colonel,
it's unfortunate. That gap must be bridged.
Well, Colonel,
that gap must be bridged.
Colonel, just before we go, we have just about
Yes,
2 minutes left. Should the Nigerian government negotiate with bandits or pay ransom to terrorists? Because you say the president is now talking tough. The parents are concerned that these bandits, they ask for ransom. What do you suggest? What do you think is the way forward?
Ruben, Nigeria is a great country. Look, we cannot, and I repeat, we cannot negotiate with these guys. We've got what it takes to crush them off. You only begin to negotiate when you've not done your homework, when you've not put in all what you should put in place. So when they have taken over your kids or your citizens and hold them ransom, there is nothing you can do. Any attempt at rescue operation, there will be high collateral damage. You will lose nearly half or over three-quarters of them. And what you are compelled to start negotiating. As a country with a strong defense force, haven't actually equipped your inventory, my God, you go out there and crush the enemy. That is what I expect from Nigeria. We did this in Liberia, we did this in Sierra Leone, we did it in the... What is happening with us? Is this Nigeria? Our sovereignty is threatened. Bandits have taken over this country. And we are watching. We are watching. For Christ's sake, we must save this country. This is the only land we have. Can someone tell the president that Nigeria is sinking? We are sinking. Every day we are sinking.
Well, Col Hassan Stan-Labo, I see you spoken as a soldier that you are, but what ordinary citizens like us see is that the situation is really bad. And parents are saying, well, if it comes to paying ransom, just pay the ransom. They want their children back home. And this is the case with many of the cases of abduction that we have seen. We want to thank you very much for joining us this morning on The Morning Show. Thank you very much indeed.